Yahoo! Welcome, my beautiful brothers and sisters and fellow radiators of love, to Astro Fenixx, flying into the moment yet again and radiating love as always. Y'all thought I wasn't going to make a video on this new moon. I know a lot of other people have already made their videos. I'm a little late to the party, but we're about to turn up in this video. I just wanted to do a little bit of an aftermath video with this Leo new moon that we just had, starting a brand new cycle, and it is August 1st. It's going to be an awesome month. I just wanted to provide a couple of my, thoughts about and my feelings of what this new moon was going to be, what's it going to provide, how it's going to open up many doors for us that we thought may have been previously been closed. It's definitely going to be a very powerful one. At the time of me making this, actually, the moon is actually at 18 degrees of Aries, getting ready to conjunct Mars at 19 degrees of Aries. So we are still very much so in this new moon phase, and you're going to definitely feel this new moon for the next several weeks leading up to that full moon. And then, of course, the energy will then begin to fade, but definitely not necessarily go completely away when we get that new moon in Virgo. But the reason why this new moon is going to stick around for a while, you got to think about this. The last time that we had a new moon in Leo, the North Node was there. Now it's in Cancer. The other thing about this new moon that makes it so freaking powerful is the fact that Mercury came out of retrograde and actually stationed direct around the time of the new moon. Actually, it was about like 30 or so minutes afterwards, if I have to be exact. The new moon apex at 11:11 Eastern Standard Time, so that's pretty divine. Like, to have a new moon that actually stations that begins at 11:11, like that's when the apex comes. That's pretty interesting, especially when that's such a big number within like the spiritual self-help community, right? 11:11. So this new moon is going to bring about many synchronicities over the next couple of weeks, especially to those who are really living within their heart space, expressing their joys and their passion. This, of course, is Leo energy. Leo is all about the heart. It's all about joy and romance and passion and expression, that fixed fire energy. It's all about what really inspires us, what really motivates us. It can be a little bit of drama too with Leo. Leo can be a little bit more of a drama queen. Definitely some fab energy there, some glamorous kind of energy there. But this is definitely giving off the vibe of like we're stepping into this whole new world. And it's almost like this new moon was like the premiere of the new world, of this new movie. And we were walking the red carpet and we watched the new movie. And by the time that the sun comes into Virgo, you're going to be living it. So this is going to be powerful because we also have Venus here. And Venus in many ways is seen as the planet of love, interesting enough. But Venus is here in Leo, so that already adds some power to it. Venus was at 4 degrees at the time of the new moon. And as I said, Mars was here as well. So we have a lot of fixed fire energy going on right now. And this is really, I speak a lot about radiating love on this channel. And it's interesting because I really do feel like that is what we should be doing. We should be radiating love. And what's interesting about when anything actually radiates, it's actually kind of like breaking, it's actually like letting out, and it's actually breaking things down at the same time. It's kind of a weird energy when you think about radiation, because it speaks to things breaking down. It speaks to there being some type of release, and radiation isn't always necessarily a good thing. But what's interesting about this is that when it comes to radiating love, as I say on this channel, when I say that, I really mean is like the love that you have within your spirit, within your soul, your sacred heart space is limitless. So what happens a lot of times is that we have to express this limitless love through joys, our passions and hobbies and romance, because if we keep that energy pimped up, it doesn't really have anywhere to go. So that's why we have Leo energy. That's why we have these things, because that energy is very intense. It's very fiery. And if we hold that kind of energy in for too long, then it actually does begin to cause imbalances within our space, within our bodies, within our spiritual body, our emotional body, our mental body, and our physical body. And like I said, we have Venus here, which rules Libra in relationships, but is also a traditional ruler of Taurus. So there's this interesting energy where we have these two fixed energies here, and we also have to consider that Mars, Mars, which is the ruler of Aries, but it also co-rules Scorpio. So we have a lot of fixed energy actually in Leo right now. So this is definitely a time where having a vision and really staying the course with that vision is going to be very, very powerful, because you're going to notice that you're able to manifest things a lot quicker and a lot more. We also have to consider that accompanying this new moon, like I said, we do have Mars here. And Mars is actually creating two quincunxes, a yod. It's quincunxing this Capricorn energy, and particularly Pluto, which is retrograde, and it's also making that quincunx over to Neptune retrograde over in Pisces. So this is one of those things where it's like we really need to act on what's within our sacred heart, irregardless of what society says is good or bad, and irregardless of any type of delusions or illusions that we may fall under. And it's not that whatever and everything that society says is good or bad for us. They're just, influences that, can knock us off our path if we listen too much to external sources. And then when you have that Neptune retrograde, it's very interesting, because Neptune retrograde is actually when Neptune's awake. Because Neptune is usually just sleeping anyways, is usually constantly in the dream realm, but whenever Neptune goes retrograde or backwards, at least from our perception, Neptune's actually awake and is doing work. And Neptune actually feels a little bit more like the Virgo energy when Neptune is retrograde, which is why things seem oddly lucid when Neptune goes backwards, because it really does begin to feel like this world is really truly alive, and it really is. It always is, regardless if it's going backwards or forward. But there's this lucidity that comes from the Neptune retrograde that if we're not aware of it, if we're not aware of the lucidity, and we're not really aware of these energies and of these messages that bubble up from our subconscious, then we can really find ourselves falling into a lot of these traps and delusions and these prisons. Because you got to think, Neptune in Pisces does rule prisons too. While it rules fantasy and unicorns and all that kind of nice stuff, it also does rule imprisonment. So this is going to be a time with this new moon where you do not want to keep the love that you are and that you are to give in shackles and imprisoned. You do not want to keep your joys and your passions locked up, because you are meant to express them. You are meant to show them for the whole world. You really are. Your purpose here coming to this planet isn't to save the planet. The world was in many ways the way it was before we got here. And it's not our job to try and save everybody and to save the whole world. Our job is to live within our sacred heart space, to have fun, to enjoy the journey of life, and to just express the love that all of us innately are at our core, at the core of our being. That is what we're here to do. So even though, yes, it's a fixed energy, which would make it seem like it has some sort of container or some confinement, truthfully what it is the fact that that love, that energy, the sun, the fact that, the sun is a star and we are all stars. What is fixed is the fact that we can always shine bright. We can always be that light. We can always be that beacon, even if our external circumstances may seem dim. We can always be that light. And this is definitely also bringing up these vibes of shining your light regardless. Some of you also, I feel like saying this, some of you also are shining your light on people that don't want to have light shined on them. And, I think this is actually a major obstacle and a potentiality that a lot of people within the New Age spiritual community and self-help community deals with is because oftentimes we will almost extend out a hand to help other people that aren't willing to help themselves. And you can only meet someone halfway, because that's the other thing about this Leo energy. Libra is the third house, and that's the mind communication. So if someone's not really willing to compromise and kind of meet you in the middle, then they're going to take your love for granted. And that's one of those difficult challenges and lessons that we have to learn. And fortunately, we do have Venus here in Leo that allows there to be more of a understanding of this Leo energy, more of an understanding of the light that we have to give to other people. Some of you may be outsourcing too much of your power to those who, quite frankly, don't give a shit. And what's interesting is that you should still shine your light anyways, and even if you don't necessarily shine it directly in their direction, it does not mean that they're not receiving it, because their soul, their spirit can hear, but they're just not consciously aware of it. So be careful, of course, about shining your light in places where people are constantly running indoors or running into caves because they don't want to deal with the light and they are not willing to heal in this moment. And that's another thing I want to bring up. Venus, which is also in Leo, which the moon conjuncted before, apexing, conjuncting the sun at 8 degrees, it did conjunct Venus. Venus, of which is actually making a beautiful trine over to Chiron in Aries, which is allowing us to heal this warrior quality of us, where it's almost like we have been in a battle, like a crazy battle. And, Chiron, stereotypically known as the wounded healer, this is a moment where we can actually, get some sense of value and really understand why we went through these trials, but we don't have to allow them to hold us back anymore. But we can actually see the beauty in why we went through these situations. There's going to be this inspirational energy with the trine. I like to think that trines bring miracles, where this trine is going to perhaps rehash some traumas from our past, but at the same time, it's going to be these very traumas that when we overcome them and we realize that, it's not so much that, oh, woe is me, or why did this have to happen to me? And after we get past the drama of it, we can begin to understand why we went through it and how it actually contributed to our evolution and our expansion and us moving forward in a very powerful way. The other thing about this Venus, though, is that it is making a square over to Uranus, which is interesting because, Uranus is in Taurus and Venus likes to be in Taurus, right? So this is an interesting energy because Uranus, stereotypically or traditionally the ruler of Aquarius, doesn't really, get the whole Leo energy, right? Uranus is very much so, kind of alien, kind of very much so out there, it's a little far away from the sun, so it's not as warm there. It can be a little cold and sometimes too rational, but at the same time, there's an innovative quality to it. And at the same time, there is this sense that Uranus does want to help, but Uranus is very much so a solution seeker. So with Uranus being in Taurus, Uranus is seeking solutions to how we can feel better about ourselves. And the way that we're going to feel better about ourselves is that if we really truly feel into our value with this moon conjuncting Venus in Leo and actually feel into the value of being in our joys and in our passions, regardless of how much money we're making, because that's another thing. Some of you guys don't want to actually pursue your gifts and your dreams and turn your hobbies into possible careers because you're worried that you're not going to make enough money, or maybe you don't have enough money right now. And you're wondering, who would want to read my story? Who would want to listen to my songs? Who would want to see me dance? Who would want to purchase my paintings? Who would want to watch my videos, right? But you got to do that for yourself, beloved. And you have a bigger audience than you realize. There is, close to 8 billion people on this earth, and then, of course, all the host of animals and creatures here. But there are an infinite number of beings in this universe. An infinite number of beings in this universe. Many of them are watching you. So you do have an audience. And you have to understand that when it comes to this currency, this is not necessarily about a physical currency that we can feel and touch and exchange, although there can certainly be a potential for there to be some coming into that. Because what's great about this is that this moon also made a trine over to Jupiter, on its way to conjuncting Mars, so that's beautiful. There's an opportunity for some fortune to come in as far as that goes. But this is about a deeper sense of currency, a spiritual currency, where it's like you're just happy doing what you're doing because it's what you love to do. And it puts a smile on your face, and it's like, those moments where it's like you feel really accomplished after doing, whatever it is, and you're super excited about it. So excited that you don't necessarily have to share it with people, although you probably will because Venus is involved here. But it's like you had to get to the point where you are your biggest fan. That's really what this is. You need to be your biggest fan. You need to be your biggest fan, because if you're not your biggest fan, then how can you expect other people to appreciate what you have to offer? How can you really, if you're not already your biggest fan? So it's like over the next couple of weeks, this is going to be a great time to set intentions, to write things down. I actually wrote some of my intentions down. I'm going to copy them, and then I'm going to burn the copy that I wrote down last night. But this is going to be a great time to set intentions, to really look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what? I saw this amazing video on Facebook the other day, and I hope I can find it, but it was like this little girl who was in the mirror, and she was just talking about all of these things that she liked. She's like, I like my mom, I like my dad, I like my brother, I like my sister, I like my school, I like my friends, I like my dog, like she was just going off on all these different things that she liked. And like, it was incredible. It was like she was so in it, she was so intense, but you can just feel, it's like I was getting chills. I'm getting chills just now talking about it. But you get chills just looking at this little girl in the mirror. She was like, this, I love this, I love this, I love this, I love this. That's the kind of energy that we need to have. That's the kind of energy that we need to have. Because this new moon, it's a powerful one. We are leading up to this full moon in Aquarius in a couple of weeks. And this is actually going to be a really big moment, because on that full moon, Mercury will be exiting shadow. So we got 2 more weeks to deal with this Mercury energy in its shadow zone. And so there's going to be a lot of time over these next 2 weeks where it's like it can be very fun, adventurous. We can go out and accomplish things that we never thought was possible. We can meet up with people that really resonate with us. But we're still going to be dealing with that mind aspect. But that's all a perception. So are you going to listen to these same old stories and to these same old mind tricks that you do unto yourself? Are you going to listen to that? Are you going to continue to go back and rewatch the old movie and rewatch the old film? There's nothing wrong with nostalgia. I go back and rewatch films. Shoot, one of my favorite movies is Rush Hour 2. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that movie. I can pretty much quote it forwards and backwards. Right? Nothing wrong with that. There's a time and place for that. This is time for a new, fresh energy. Moving into this new world, this new movie of your life. Things are really kicking off, setting us up for the 2020 portal. August is going to be a very, very positive month. I am going to be doing an August horoscope. Probably, I may do it tonight. I'm not entirely sure, but if anything, it'll be tomorrow night. But it's going to be a very positive month. The rest of this Leo season, and then, of course, even the beginning of Virgo season. Because, Virgo is about, the particulars, the details, and all that sort of stuff. We're still going to have a fair bit of this Leo energy, but everything's going to start to shift into Virgo very fast. You'll see just how fast this Leo energy is here. So take advantage of this energy while it's here. Take advantage of this positivity. Take advantage of this light, and really use it to your benefit. Because you are the light. You are love. And when you really step into that space and you express yourself, you can't go wrong. And you will always be supported. I want to read Inside the Degrees by Elias Lonsdale. I want to read the degrees that the planets were at
for this new moon. So I'm going to read, first I'm going to read the new moon itself. Actually, no, will read Venus first. So Venus was at 4 degrees of Leo during the time. A gardener collecting cow manure. Ah, look at this. Bonding with the immediate external task and swallowing yourself up in its container. Finding sanctuary in excellence, practice, discipline, conscientious carry through. Becoming engrossed within the task itself and its way of life. Harnessing vast vision into detailed particulars, you succeed marvelously in becoming what is asked, turning yourself into one who fits the role, the pure servant. But a subtle presence, a deep authority, and otherworldly overtone give you away. You've been assigned to veil the self in lesser things so that you will be undisturbed to work within and do spade work for planetary evolution. Yet the call is so critical that often even your own conscious self has little idea why none of this posturing ever seems quite real, and your entire expression seems a little too perfect, too much of a setup, too snugly fit to be convincing to those with eyes to see. That's where Venus was. I think a lot of times we can definitely value putting off this facade that we have everything figured out and that we have our whole life in order. You know, authenticity is on the rise now, or at least expressing our authentic self. But there for a long time, and it still happens, people will try and put on their best selves and try to show the whole world, you know, with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and the various other social media platforms of, you know, look at my life and like keep up to date with me at this time, and at this time I'm doing this, and at this time I'm doing that, and oh my gosh, everything's falling right into place. And there's a bit of sensationalism here. And it's interesting too because in many ways we all kind of fall into that trap where we have to play particular roles. But on the undertone, there is something that's brewing where we are not only here to evolve this planet, but we actually are here to evolve the understanding of the other planets as well. Because they do affect us, and they are us. They are a part of us. So it's not just that we're here to raise the vibration of Earth, we're here to raise the vibration of all the planets. And I think that's a very powerful thing to consider. Let's read Leo 8 degrees. This was the degree of the new moon itself. A young woman sits at a piano and improvises beautiful music. I love that. Aristocracy and fine breeding open a space for the inner heart to sing. Being aware that you are given manifest advantages which make it likely that your talents and abilities can flourish. Past life attainment pulls in present life congenial context. But a shadow creeps over this beautiful scene. You take on how others see you and reflect you, which leads to, in one direction, becoming the performer who plays to the audience, losing your center, and in another direction to becoming the one who suppresses and feels guilty about outstanding individual attributes and colludes in going against yourself. Many possible directions. It all depends upon ripening to be simultaneously proud and humble, magnificent and sober. A path of character involvement with many places to get lost and a very strong will to work. Through it all, becoming fully who you are in a way that gives life to everybody and takes nothing away from anybody, anywhere. And that right there is really what we are here to do in many ways. We are here to give, but to not take away. And if we are in a space where we are whole, then no one can take anything away from us. But we, in turn, also have so much to give. But sometimes we, like I said, and like that previous Sabian symbol, we can kind of get caught up in these roles. And sometimes we can, you know, cater to our audience and we can forget the message. You see this happen all the time, especially in music and artists, where sometimes you can tell when an artist may lose their way. Sometimes we may think that they're evolving, and sometimes they actually are evolving with their music. But you can also tell when the authenticity and the artistry of why they got into it in the first place, it begins to fade because they gain a certain level of success and acknowledgement, and then it's about maintaining that image. But this is a process where really you want to be your authentic self as much as possible. And sometimes it is hard. We talk about authenticity, but in this day and age, it is a practice, authenticity. So don't get too upset with yourself if you find yourself, feeling guilty about not being as authentic as you can at certain moments. This is a process, and things do take time. But as this said, we are all performers, and we have moved into this new world and this new stage and this new dialogue, and we are all trying to find our way through it too. It's not easy, but we can all help each other too. So it's like you'll start to see people playing out old scripts from the old movie, from the past one, and I guess of course, since this is a sequel in many ways, of course there's going to be aspects and motives and themes and stuff from the old movie that comes back up because you kind of need the context for some of the new things that are going to pop up. But are you just going to completely replay that old story and that old play and go backwards? Or are you going to allow yourself to evolve at the times and just kind of flow with it? And the last one is going to be Leo 19 degrees. It was like 18, 19 degrees is where Mars was. A hummingbird feeding at a trumpet vine. Heightened perception, exquisitely poised, brilliant, and as fast as can be. You have the genius of seeing things, knowing things, and being there. Overflowing with destiny bounty earned over many lifetimes, yet you bring all this through with a fine-tuned ability to land in the situation at hand with only as much as can be worked with. Meaning you're never going to be given more than you can handle. You are guided to follow an extraordinary course through the world, which features the perfect opportunities to tap what is inside in so many different ways. The blessings, the grace, the heart's wonder are super full. As this way of being ripens and matures, it becomes even better. Then you begin to draw out from others the same kind of marvels and wonders, and to make it possible for the vibrancies to spread and grow. With the wildfire capacity to spread good news and bring affirmative realizations wherever they are needed in generous profusion, you work with ever more effortless capacity to bring this world alive. Can't say it any better. That's where Mars is. That's where the moon is conjuncting Mars. Actually, right now, as I'm making this video, our souls take my own advice and listen to my own words and stuff like that and what's coming up. Of course, these aren't necessarily my words. These are just... This is what I'm feeling. This is what's coming through me. This is the universe speaking through me. So it's not really my words, but it's like, there are some people that are more afraid of life than they are of death. And it's crazy because, I have fallen in that category multiple times, through anxiety and depression and stuff like that, where death would almost seem like some sort of like a sweet release from the pressure of life. And I know that sounds pretty dark and shit, but it's an honest feeling that I've had more recently than I like to admit. But I'm admitting it right now because I want to be open and honest with you all. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, but seldom do they speak it, and if they do speak it, seldom are they heard, because it's not something that we really want to talk about. But a lot of times we are more afraid of life than death. Because with death, it is a transformation. It's not an ending, but it does seem like it does release this pressure that we feel. But as that saving symbol just said, we are so supported by this great universe to bring our gifts through that really this whole world it is a party, but it really should be a party where we're dancing in the streets and celebrating and eating good food and listening to great music, and it's a big party and stuff like that. It's kind of weird. Like my energy didn't go down. It just took kind of a bit of a serious turn, honestly. But I do feel like this is a very powerful moment. And what's great about this is that we're all going to experience this on our own way. Of course, you want to see where this new moon is, like in your houses, so you can know how it's like affecting you and stuff like that. For example, for me, this new moon was conjunct my Chiron. I have my Chiron and Leo at 9 degrees, and this is in my 9th house, based off of the equal house. So this is all about higher education, traveling, visionary energy, being able to see, being able to take my inspiration and actually manifest it It has a lot to do with that energy for me. And with Chiron there, it's like I definitely have an experience I can recall where I traveled and it was a great experience, but at the same time there was a lot of darkness and there was a lot of things and a lot of shadows that I had to confront, and it hurt, and a part of me is almost like I want to travel and stuff like that. I really do, but at the same time there's a part of me is like almost kind of afraid to go back to that place because there was a lot of pain there that happened. A lot of it that I uncovered after I got back. I'm talking about Colorado, which is a beautiful, gorgeous place. So much healing went down over there, and I can't wait to go back there, honestly. But that's just kind of an example of how it's affected me. But like I said, this is hitting everybody, differently. So of course you want to see where it's in your houses to know how it's going to be affecting you. But enjoy this new moon. Enjoy this Leo season. Enjoy this fire. Enjoy this inspiration. This is a very inspirational time right now. And if you really put your faith and trust in your sacred heart, and you put your faith and trust in whatever this cosmic support system that we are all tethered to, this divine support system that just seems to get it, it's hard to, because it trickles down into so many different streams and tributaries, and those streams and tributaries, we in many ways worship the streams and the tributaries, these gods and goddesses, and they can help us out, but sometimes, it's hard to even trust them all the way, these different groups of beings and stuff like that. But the source that it comes from, we have a line to that source. We have more of a direct line to it than we realize. And I think with this new moon, and then over the course of the rest of this year, and over the course of the next several years, especially leading up to when Pluto goes into Aquarius. I know I'm going a little off the rails here, but especially when Pluto goes into Aquarius, Neptune goes into Aries, Uranus goes into Gemini, we're really going to start to see it as all these outer planets are finishing up at the later half of the zodiac and beginning to go back into the beginning half of the zodiac. This is really, we are kind of in between worlds, but we are more so stepping into a new world. And we have that direct line to source. And it doesn't take that long to tap into it. And a lot of times it doesn't communicate it doesn't necessarily always communicate with these like words that we hear in our head. A lot of times it's a feeling. Most of the time it's a feeling. And you know it when it happens. It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us every day, but you know when it happens, when you're aware. And it's very powerful, it's very humbling, it's very beautiful. And it's a warmth that's it's unexplainable. It really is. Words don't really do it justice. So I'm gonna draw a card from the Answer is Simple deck, and then we're going to get out of here. But I do hope that you enjoyed this. Hope this gave you a little bit of clarity into what's going on here. Of course, like I said, this is just kind of a general reading of my feelings on this new moon. But go out there and celebrate your life. Celebrate your life and celebrate your love, because it's quite amazing. I'm going to draw 2 cards because, at least here in the Eastern time zone of the United States, it was 11:11. So I'm going to count to 11, and then I'm going to count to 11 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm sure you guys can enjoy seeing my bald spot up there. You can see how my hair is thinning out. I'm sure you guys enjoy that, right? So, I love this. Change the scenery and share your gifts. Change the scenery and share your gifts. I'm going to leave it right there.
that is it for your video. I really do hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, beloved. And if you'd like a personal reading with me, beloved, you can follow the link in the description below to astrofenixx.com. Happy new moon, happy Leo season, happy August, and happy the rest of this beautiful year. And I look forward to seeing you all soon in the next video. And as always, my beautiful brothers and sisters, always remember to keep moving forward, to stay focused, and Yahoo!